Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Astrology Victoria. Today, with your host Tatiana, and we will be discussing this week's astrology from Monday, August the 22nd, all the way through Sunday, August the 28th. And in particular, we will be discussing the new moon in Virgo. Lots of things to say, so let's get into it. Um, Here it is, the chart. Where are we starting? Let's make my face a little bit bigger. There we go. Okay, so we're kicking off this week with a few different things. Some tension in the skies and some very positive um, things as well that can happen. As you can see here, sorry about that. We are having still this trine, grand trine between Pluto and Mercury and Mars. And this we talked a little bit about last week, gives us the possibility, the immense possibility of looking within, observing the shadow parts of ourselves, talking about it, having clarity, because Mercury in Virgo is very clear. So it can actually understand whatever is happening. And Mars gives us the power, the act, the will to go and look within those shadows. So there is a very supportive trine in transformation, because Pluto wants to transform everything it touches, completely refurbish. So this is a good time to also think about what are the things that are important. Where are the truths? What's the truth about our lives? The truths that are important to us? What matters? The things we see, the things we see within ourselves. And I gotta tell you, I have been doing a lot of that myself lately. So it's a good time to also organize thoughts. Mercury likes to organize. Mercury in Virgo, it's been here for a while, but it likes to organize the mind, organize thoughts, put things in its right place. So that is something that is still happening, still going on, and will carry on a little bit more this week. So good times to really have those conversations with people, or if it's not conversations, it's seeing the shadow, seeing the darkness, accepting that our human nature has all these flaws, and that everything can be indeed transformed if we look at the shadow side of life and ourselves, and we are willing to go there, which is usually could be scary. However, with Mars there, then the fear factor can be also overcome a little bit, because there's a will, there's a desire. Let's get this done. And again, this energy also gives us a lot of willpower to also get things accomplished. But because Mars is in Gemini, and Gemini is ruled by Mercury, I think this is really more about looking within. It's about our thoughts, because Gemini is all about communication, the mind. It's a Mercury ruled sign, so it's all about how we structure our reality inside our heads. And what are the thoughts we have. So looking at the shadow thoughts is going to be a very good thing to do, because it evolves us into the next level, the next layer, gives us more understanding. So that is a good supportive trine also to have difficult conversations with people. This is a good time for that, to have those things where we need to look at things that are not working. And there's going to be something, I think this week is so much about relationships, so much, so much, so much, because Venus, and we're going to talk Venus this time, it's now uh, starting to enter or to perfect the square to Uranus, and it's in a T square to the nodes. So Venus is here, and throughout the week, it's going to be more and more intense throughout the week. Venus is in tension. And when it's intention also with the nodes, it means always a crossroad. When we have these T squares, these points where we have to look forward and backward and say, what are we moving forward with? And here's the question of Venus with anything we value. What's important to our hearts? We talked about Venus in Leo last time, where it's about our self-expression, who we truly are, what matters to our hearts, to our alignment in our expression of self. And what are the relationships, because Venus rules relationships, that are supportive of that journey? Are we stuck in things or relationships or way of giving value to things that are no longer really valuable to our expression? And what relationships are supportive of this new level of identity that we are? These are very important questions. And also, what are we moving forward with? This When we have squares to Uranus, usually Uranus cuts or releases or detaches or frees up. And that can be experienced as something difficult, like traumatic in a sense, because it's just something, it's like the breakup energy. However, this is for a reason. If this happens that you're, for instance, in a relationship that is just being dragging on and on and on, and it's not working, this is time to maybe, it's the shit or get off the pot kind of energy. Then there is breakup, then there is a complete new reality existing with regards to relationships. Or it could also be a good time to reassess why something feels limited in our relationships. And why am I talking about this? Because Venus also, in starting this square, is also going to be soon opposing Saturn. And this is when relationships can feel oppressive, difficult. There can be challenges in relationships. We don't see eye to eye. It's not about pleasure and joy like we were having with the Venus Jupiter, the Venus Jupiter trine that is so supportive, like that we saw a little bit in the past week, that maybe some friendships, some people, it's amazing. And then now we're gonna see what is not working, what relationships are not supportive. Also, why do we cut ourselves from pleasure, or somebody might cut us from the pleasure of expressing ourselves and being who we are. And this requires an adjustment between what is socially acceptable, because Saturn is in Aquarius, and we know that in Aquarius is all about the human family, society, what needs to work for everybody. And then there is this tension between the self-expression or the love and the joy. So maybe we might feel like we lose the pleasure of self-expression, you know, or something outside of ourselves can feel like it's not allowing us our true expression. And that will put into question, who are we, what is dear to our hearts? And then there are decisions to be made regarding what will support what is true to our hearts in our journey, to be really honest with that, and what will not, and then make adjustments. It's not all black or white. It's not all what I want, what I desire, or what everybody wants and desires. It's how can we come to a midpoint, the midpoint of the middle of the chart, where there's this balance, and the sweet spots of the whole chart usually is the middle. How can we be in all of the energies at once and not be polarized? So it is important to notice what's important to us, what relationships. You might notice that some relationships just expired, And it might be also more difficult to commit at this moment. This square to Saturn and Uranus that we've been experiencing over the past 2 years, going on and off and on and off, where there's a desire for freedom, and we've seen it in all these freedom movements, the trucker movements, and then all the um, protests around the world in all kinds of areas of our economy, our lives, for women. That there's been these in the United States, the abortion legislation put, again, pressure. Like, there's all these pressures being put on by governments, and also by different governments. It can be something as small as your boss is as a type of government, or parents can be a type of government. Anything that feels that it's above you, it's a type of government, and this is always represented by Saturn. Let's remember that Saturn is not bad. Saturn is just the function of order, structure. For example, if we are in traffic and we have a red light that says you need to stop, right? Then you stop. So there is this structured life and structured world that is governed by the Saturn function, which is the light is red, now you stop, the light is green, now you go. What happens if you didn't stop and you say, no, I'm not stopping, which is a little bit the square to Uranus that says, I'm not stopping, I'm going, I'm fed up. You go. What can happen here is crash. There's crashes, right? Because you didn't stop and then just wanted to go. The invitation would be, okay, maybe it's not a red light that's telling you to stop. Maybe it's just a stop sign suggesting that it is important to stop in order not to crash. And then you observe the road, and then you make a decision where you can be free to move through. That's how we come to these midpoints of agreement. It's not all or nothing. It's not stop and you're not moving, and it's not, well, I'm going and I'm not stopping at this red light. It's neither. But the reason why I'm bringing up this example, it's because this is how the tension feels. Like, if the red light's been going on for too long, well, you're fed up and you just want to go. You just want to go. And that's what happens. Then crashes can happen. Crashes in life. And this is the tension that it's starting to build again, and will be almost perfect again in October. So it's a couple more months of this fed up with structures that are limiting. So the invitation always is what I just said. It's not about disregarding completely the structures. It's looking at how we can implement structures that are more supportive of our journeys, of our individual journeys. And if our individual journey, the heart, Leo, Venus, the heart is supported, then the new structures are based on inspiration. They are based on the flow that is it comes from self-authority. I can be responsible for what I need to do because I am in line with what I feel it's important that needs to be done, that my soul has agreed to do. And that you feel it in the heart. That's when we connect to the heart. We connect to this energy that says, this feels right. I'm going to do this. This doesn't feel right. This is off. But if we keep going in the direction where there's drama, again, Scorpio, difficulty, drama, pain, then it's not going to support beautiful relationships. And anybody with points or planets around the 13th degree of the fixed signs, so Leo, Aquarius, Scorpio, and Taurus, could be feeling this Venus tension really, really strongly. Like, really strongly. I know that I am, because my Venus is at 90 degrees of Scorpio. So it's my own Venus is being challenged. And I have been shown this week the things that give me absolute pleasure and joy that my soul connects to, and the things that don't. And it's been radically obvious for me. And now I know that my task is to take both, take stock of what is really not me, what is really me, and make a good agreement with my reality. so that I can still exist within my authenticity and my truth. And that is true for me. How about you? Is it true for you in any way, shape, or form? That this energy is impacting you. This can also impact finances because Venus is so linked to finances. So, and value, finances because it's money, right? It's value. What do we value? And if, for example, if you're doing meaningful work, then you attract meaningful money, then you attract abundance. If you're not connected to your heart in your work, for instance, and you're doing a job that you've been at for like a while and it's not satisfying, it's difficult, your boss is complicated, you don't like the job, your heart's not connected, well, it's going to be harder to attract money because the heart is not there. The magnet of the zodiac is Venus, is love, the love of, the pleasure of. Venus rules pleasure. When there's pleasure in our actions, the magnet gets activated. When Saturn's in the mix, it asks us to be also responsible. And sometimes things might not be very pleasurable. So the invitation will be, okay, then how could I find pleasure in something that is not as pleasurable? So you see, this is the little midpoint is, well, there's sometimes things that need to be done because we live in a society where everybody has a self-expression, Venus. Everybody has their own way of being, and we need to all fit together. And I have a beautiful example that I wanted to share. This week, I'm working in a beautiful project with a collective of people to create a show about identity, about lineage, about the differences in culture, cultural differences. And we have people from all these different backgrounds, places, countries. And the creative process is to come all together, like in an Aquarian way, right? And this is a beautiful expression of how everybody, being so different with such a different background, brings something to the table that is unique. And this is where we are here in Leo. And of all things for me, Leo, right? Bling, bling, let's show it. So we're showing who we are. And in this particular piece, the creative process is so beautiful because it's about, not, the director is not saying you do this, you do that, you do that. That is that Saturn in position. The director says, what do you have to bring? Let's try this, let's try that. Everybody tries things out, and then we observe, and then the director says, oh, that is really good, why don't we try this? And then we all try it and we all decide this is good. But our self-expression is fully given voice and value. It's beautiful. And the whole piece is about this. So for me, it's like so beautiful to see that this is being shown in a way that can work. How? For liberation and freedom of expression. Um, it's it's the pull of evolution, basically. So this is kind of a little example. Now, the other thing that is being highlighted is the Pluto is going. It's sextiling Neptune. So when we have these sextiles, and it's going to be a long sextile because these are outer planets that move very slowly, and this is a call to awakening, to awakening, to transforming the way we even exist completely in reality. There is with Neptune this desire to connect to something so divine, so higher. It's almost this pull that if we trust that there is a divine plan in place, and we trust that, and we don't go into a little ego mind trying to fix the whole world, but accepting the whole world and allowing that transformation to happen, there could be massive awakening, realizing also that integrating the shadow part, Pluto, that the world is made up of black and white, of dark and light, integrating that polarity is a part of existence, and that we honor that part as playing a role, even whatever we feel and believe that's not good, that's bad. There's this polarization, even that what we believe to be bad has an important role in this divine play, you know. And when we acknowledge that even all those shadow sides exist for a reason, then we move into more true unconditional love. And what is Christ consciousness, or the, you know, how a lot of new age movement says, calls the 5D or the fifth dimensional awareness, or you can call it whatever, or Christ consciousness. Christ consciousness is that consciousness of of understanding that everything just is, and not judging it, not blaming it, not trying to control it, not trying to dictate how reality moves, not trying to dictate how all the pieces of divinity move. Yes, some people have made choices of, of doing things that can be very detrimental and destructive. Yes. And that can create a lot of pain that has impact. Yes, there is impact, and we acknowledge the impact. But by acknowledging the impact, that is how, that is precisely how we can change and transform. It's not by judging it or by blaming it, it's by noticing, oh, this has happened again and again and again. This is painful. This is not harmonious. This creates hurt. I'm creating hurt in another one. I'm hurting myself. You know, the Christ consciousness is literally, how do we have true compassion? And Neptune brings that ability to have true compassion in this process. That when we awaken as a collective, we need to integrate all the pieces and love all the pieces. I'm not enlightened. Sorry, I'm not. I don't have that yet. I don't have that, all of that together. However, at least I understand that that is the way to go. And I might fall many times. And yes, I will go back into judging. And yes, I will go back into my ego desires. And yes, I will go back into that time and again. However, the awakened being is the one that can recognize that that is there. It's in me, it's in the world, and it's okay. And we are in a process. This is not a race for evolution. This is just an evolutionary process. So that's like, I just unpacked a lot. Right? So now what's going to happen is tomorrow, Tuesday, within this framework that we just talked about difficulty with relationships, reassessing, reevaluating our structures, and having the ability to communicate and see the shadow so we can evolve and move even in our relationships. If what we need is to break up, then please break up. If that's needed, if that's better. If not, okay, work something out. Where are those differences? Why are they there? How can we make it work? That is the invitation of this tension. Is not to just throw the baby with the bathwater. Sometimes that's what's needed. When it's toxic, yes, that's what needed. But if it's not toxic, okay, let's see. Let's have compassion for each other and see this, right? So this is the energy of the week, and the sun is entering Virgo. So now we're going to have a lot of the Virgo energy starting to come in. You know, maybe not a lot, because there is a little bit of everything everywhere. The chart is pretty well distributed in elements. There's enough groundedness, like ground and earth, with the Virgo and the Taurus. We have Mars in Gemini in air, and Saturn in Aquarius in air. We have the Jupiter and Chiron in fire, and we have not so much water as of late. It's only Neptune being in water. So we are in a time where things are mentally agile. There's action. There's a lot of action with the Jupiter in Aries that we saw at the big in April. This, like, we're in an action portion, a thinking portion, and an acting portion, and all of that needs to kind of move within the flow. But it might feel that the flow is not as easy because water, you know, the sensing of things might not be present. So it is also important, when the chart of the sky is not in one particular element and we want to balance that out, it's important to bring it then consciously into our lives. So for example, with water, do do dance, for instance, do tai chi, or practices that are very flowy, things that bring you in the flow. Go to nature and go to maybe where there's a fountain, take walks in nature, um slowly, right? Again, we have been in such a speedy time, and if we have not learned to really stop and smell the roses when it's needed, then we're completely removing the element of the feminine, the one that holds and creates. And if we're too much in the yang, which when Mars moves into Gemini, it's gonna be here, there, and everywhere, and it could be very scattered. So the invitation also is focus. If we can focus and yes, explore variety. However, bear in mind that too much scattered action and scattered thinking might just not be able to complete anything. So we start something here, we start something there and there and there, and we don't finish anything, then there we don't have a focus. So it is important to focus. Good thing is Virgo can bring focus and structure. Virgo is awesome for rolling up the sleeves and doing it. So the sun in Virgo, and happy birthday Virgos like me. It's about that. So yes, let's look at Virgo a little bit. If you don't have not seen my extended video about Virgo, there is a video in the channel, in the educational segment of this channel, and it's all about the Virgo archetype. And the Virgo archetype, with the tools, has the tools and the ability to organize this, whatever comes from the chaos or the non structured life. Virgo sees it and transforms it. How? By being practical, by seeing, and especially Mercury has this mental capacity to take the tools and make it into something and organize it into a logical structure, into, this kind of logical structure that then is always meant to elevate it and perfect it and purify. Virgo just purifies everything it touches, which means if something's dirty, Virgo cleans it. If something needs adjustment or fixing, Virgo adjusts it and fixes it. If something needs healing, mending, repairing, Virgo does that. That is the function of this beautiful sign. And it's the sign of service because Virgo wants to serve. If it's fixing, arranging, holding, it's not up there shining, it's holding the structures. It's the harvest, is the energy of the harvest. This is where we go and harvest the fruits, and the vegetables. And then there's this work. Virgo is about work. Virgo people are usually hardworking people. So in Virgo season, there is an invitation for work, for craft, for health. Virgo also rules over health. Why? Because if we keep the routines, we have healthy routines, then we are healthy human beings. Virgo always gives us an invitation to go back to our healthy eating habits, our healthy sleeping habits, or just looking at what habits we have that are not healthy and how we can improve them. Virgo is all about improvement. So take this energy of Virgo that wants to improve, and we want to improve our relationships. We want to improve our health. We want to improve. Life wants to improve. Virgo invites improvement. So take this energy as the sun transits Virgo to see what routines you can put in place, again, to be more healthy. Are you eating healthy? Are you sleeping well? Is there any habit that, for example, you're drinking too much or smoking or anything that because you know it, that is detrimental to health, that you're still kind of attached to, that you can maybe make, a commitment that you could probably pull this off and do something good for yourself to improve yourself. Also, how can we improve relationships this time around, this new moon in Virgo, which we're going to see here? Oh, this is a small. This new moon in Virgo that is happening at 4 degrees and 3 minutes of Virgo. it's the synthesis a little bit of this week, and it has another little component. The other little component is that Mercury is entering Libra. And when Mercury enters Libra, we are no longer so much in the structuring of the mind, but we are in the social aspect of things. Libra wants to make things work. It wants balance. It wants agreements. And Mercury in Libra will want to see both sides of the story, both sides of the equation. With the tension we're having with Saturn and Venus almost exactly in opposition at this full moon and this new moon, these are the themes that we're going to be working with throughout the month. Is how can we have agreements, commitments, and still have some pleasure in life? It has to be both. It can't be one or the other. How can we have healthy relationships within a working society? And it could be in our jobs, in our families, with our friends, with our groups of friends, wherever we are. This is the invitation. Mercury also being in opposition to Jupiter in this new moon can bring quite a bit of either talking too much, explaining too much, overdoing it, or even being boastful about things, or even to the point of being obnoxious. So the invitation here when we have this opposition is also to or it could also be like being way too optimistic. That's another expression of this opposition, is like maybe we're just thinking that everything can be done and not really considering others, um, or their perspectives as being actually possible. Or we have like there's like over expectation of things, or an overly optimistic mind. And because we have been also experiencing this opposition of Mercury to Neptune also this week, we need to be aware of. So this week is, we need to be aware of deceptions, of where we are deceiving ourselves or lying to ourselves, or where somebody else is deceiving us, or life is deceiving us. Are we being dishonest with people, or are people being dishonest with us? This is a good time to do reality checks. Remember, whenever there's Neptune in the mix, there can be confusion. The mind can get confused. You're not clear. And with now Jupiter opposing Mercury, there could be maybe also that over optimistic thing we signed up for, and then it's like, oh, we signed up for the wrong thing. That was not what I wanted. So make sure, and while this transit is happening, that you keep grounded, really do the fact checking. Ask the questions twice, not once. Why is this? I need to understand. I need clarity about this, please. Otherwise, we can be like taking off in this, like, and with this clarity also comes there can come good agreements, right, within Libra. And make sure those agreements are really positive. The good thing about Jupiter is that it brings optimism to the mix, but so much it can be so optimistic that we sign on the dotted line for something that maybe it's not quite that. So make sure that to keep your hopes down a little bit and go, okay, I know what I can do and what I can't, when I'm able of of committing to, and what I can't, especially with this, like, oh, I can't commit to anything energy of Venus feeling like that. This is uncomfortable. Yes, it's an uncomfortable energy. I gotta say it. It's uncomfortable. It's not easy energy, but it will yield its results if we bring the consciousness and the awareness to it. Remember always to bring kindness, and precisely not to be too like, well, I am, with that Jupiter in Aries could be very like me and my action, right? And so how can we bring a dynamic between the me, the self, the love, and the others, the environment, the limitations, and still find pleasure and balance and good agreements between, you know, everybody involved. It could be your partner, you know. So if there's been tension in relationships, especially if, for example, you have any of these in the seventh house, for instance, where of your part of partnership. So it also depends where these points fall in your chart. And if you don't know how to get to that, and you don't understand or know your chart well, and this is a lot of information, please, you can always contact me for a reading. All the information is in the description below. So yes, this new moon is an invitation, big invitation to reevaluate our relationships, know what's working, what's not working, how can we make it work, uh, make commitments that are workable for you. Do not overextend if you can't, and let's try and find peace and balance within these configurations, and notice who are the people that are supportive of our journey and who aren't, and how we can either make it work or or separate. That's also, it's also an option and a possibility. So, and know that the world has millions of options. There's always going to be something, always. And this evolutionary process is not always easy. We are in one of the hardest months. If we can make it through, um, we'll be good. You know. Yeah, also in this new moon, make sure that there could be a lot of, with these tight squares between Saturn and Venus. Sometimes it's this like social graces, that you have to be like sociably agreeable, and you kind of don't want to, because like right now you're probably feeling like shit, and you have like, I don't know, uh and you have to be like, um I don't know, in a party or something, and you're like just not feeling good, but you have to go anyways, and you're like, I have to be like, but you don't want to, so it feels awkward. So in order to, let's say, resolve this awkwardness, be gentle to yourself. Know when to be in agreement with the space, the environment, the people, and when to take care of yourself. And be clear with voicing this with kindness. Voice your needs with kindness. Look, I'm really feeling sick. I'm feeling sick. I don't think I can work today. Or I don't know, I'm feeling sick. I don't think I can come to the party. I'm really really feeling I or whatever. Oh, I knew, I told you that we were going to do this, but right now I don't feel I have the energy. However, how about we postpone to this time? Or how about, give options and be kind. Always use kindness, because when these aspects are at play, oh, there can be a little bit of mm, discomfort. Okay, ah, let's get out of that discomfort that I just created with this archetype by taking one deep breath before we leave, connecting to our hearts. Let's use our practical Virgo tools. Staying no matter what in gratitude of what is, because there is always something to be grateful for. A beautiful practice is to see in people not what's wrong with them, because nothing is ever wrong with anybody, by the way, but acknowledging what is beautiful about this person. How can I connect to this person when the disconnection is so imminent? What is that beautiful thing that still connects me to this human being that is in front of me? That is the exercise. That is the calling of this uncomfortable energy. Can we step up to that or not? And if we don't, guess what? It's okay. The divine will never judge you, will never force you, will never coerce you. And if we are all divine beings, then so be it. Okay, I love you very much. And I'm going to just close this off. And if you like this message and you feel to like somebody will benefit from these messages, please feel free to share and like and subscribe to the channel so you can get these updates and notifications on when I'm coming online to give you more inspiration, more insight, and more guidance. Be well. Blessings.